Welcome back to the Bundesliga show, brought to you by Over the Bar. We're back for some fantasy football action this fine morning, or very windy morning, at least in Sheffield. Rune, how are you doing this morning?
Very good, thanks. Looking forward to another weekend of Bundesliga action. Will be interesting to see how Bayern will cope with all the injuries, especially looking at the title race.
Yeah, absolutely. When myself and Peter were doing the predictions last night, I must admit, from Wednesday's game, I hadn't realised that Bayern had been so decimated by injury because I was having to watch it on and off on Wednesday night due to other commitments. So that really is interesting. So obviously it will impact on our fantasy football picks as well. So of course, sit back and enjoy along with us. We've got some questions that have been already asked as well, so we'll come to those. And so just before we do, of course, if you can, give a thumbs up to this show, comment along, already a few people checking in, and of course, subscribe to the channel, then that would be most enjoyable for us to keep on producing this content for you week in, week out. Good morning, Captain Rex, Lawrence, morning, Peter. Thanks all for tuning in. Let's get cracking. And a bit of a change of tact, just very quickly this morning. We're just going to show you our current status, our top 12 as it stands in the Bulinews and Over the Bar League, which, just nice to have a little bit of reflection. So this is the overall table, as you can see. And Racing Ball Sport Promin is top as it stands with 2,880 points, a little bit further ahead of second place. And then in third is Baxus. It's all very tight thereafter, though. And as you can see, in 12th place is Rune with Bulinews. And Rune was just informing me that you're 14th in the world. So
No,
that just
rank 40.
40. Oh, sorry, 40. Right.
But still,
Yeah.
we just talked about the quality of our league. I mean, it says something that I'm 12th in the league, but still rank 40 in the world. So
Yeah.
a lot of good players competing with me.
No wonder I'm doing so badly. So some brilliant stuff. So well done to everyone who's in that top 12. If I just flick up as well, we'll just have a look at who did best from match week 18. Oh, if I can get myself sorted. Here we go. 18. So wasn't the highest scoring weeks ever, but well done to Mac Attack with 149 points. I think we can have a quick look at the team as well that won said point. So you've got Undav in there doing pretty well. Hoffman, Grifo, of course, Matson, Grimaldo. So yeah, well done to Mac Attack.
Yeah, actually, Grifo turned out to be a great differential, and I was quite happy with that because I mentioned him on the show, and his ownership was still quite low, so he was quite a difference maker last week.
Yeah, I'm super, super glad that I brought Grimaldo in. So yeah, well done to anyone and everyone who did that. So I'll just get the screen ready for our midfield, picks now. If I just scroll up a little bit, it'll be perfect. Right then, Rune, we'll come to any questions that we have in a moment. But let's just get cracking with the defenders. So they're now scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. So let's go through them, starting with budget.
Yeah, my budget pick this week is Rogerio from Wolfsburg, who I think still hasn't quite reached his full potential in Germany yet. But part of the story is that he struggled a lot with injuries since joining from Sassuolo in the summer, and he only just returned to Wolfsburg starting lineup last week against Heidenheim after fighting his way back from another injury. So he's had a tough time, but he's back to full fitness now. And although his numbers aren't that great, I think with his technical ability and pace, he could do really well against FC Köln at home. Of course, given Köln's recent form and problems, it's definitely a game that Wolfsburg will want to win. And my mid-price pick this week is Christopher Trimmel from Union Berlin, who's an old fantasy friend of mine. He's struggled to get regular playing time since Juranovic joined. But now with Juranovic is injured, then he should be nailed down to start at right wing back. And obviously, Union have a great fixture this week against Darmstadt at home, and Trimmel is on set pieces, which adds a lot to his value. So it could be a really good game for him. And as we can see, his ownership is 0% at the moment. And then finally, my premium pick is Rafa Guerreiro, who, he's clearly a favorite of Thomas Tuchel's, and he's now started 5 games in a row for Bayern. He's a proven fantasy asset, also scored in midweek, a great outside of the boot goal there, should retain his starting place after being one of Bayern's best players in that game. And also they have a lot of injuries at the moment, so looks pretty set to start in central midfield in the more attacking role perhaps there. So playing out of position as a defender, and also his ownership is 3%. I think a lot of people opted to bring in Alphonso Davies last week, so he's a cheaper alternative and is even playing in an quite attacking role for Bayern.
Yeah, absolutely, some great picks there, and as probably alluded to last night, so it sounds like Rafa will get the nod in midfield potentially, and so Alphonso Davies will come back into the team at left back, or have I got that wrong way around?
Yeah, I think it looks like Bayern will use a back three this time. I think that makes the most sense because they don't really have a right back available. So I think it would make sense to use Goretzka, Dyer, and De Ligt at the back, and then play a 4-man midfield with Coman and Davies operating as some pretty attacking wing backs, and then will probably be Guerreiro and Paulovic in central midfield. Could also move Musiala back to play alongside Guerreiro, and then Müller would play in a more attacking role. But both Davies and Guerreiro should be nailed on to start this week, given all the injuries Bayern have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there's a couple of questions asked before the show got going, so I just want to come to those and double check if they were related to defenders. So let me just check this. And our good friend FPL Gunnosaurus had logged a few, and these are mainly around midfielders, formation, and strikers. So we'll come to your questions in a moment. Jay, nothing in the live chat around, again, defenders. So we'll happily move on to the midfield picks from Rune this week. So they're now going along the bottom of the screen. Rune, let's talk us through the first of your picks. A very interesting one, budget-wise.
Yeah, and that's Gustavo Puerta from Leverkusen, because it looks like with Jonathan Tah suspended, then it would make sense for, and of course Tapsoba and Kusunu are still at the AFCON, then it makes sense for Andrik to be moved back to central defense. It's the only real option there if you want to play with 3 at the back, and the others unavailable, and then Palacios is injured in central midfield, so there's a free space there alongside Granit Xhaka, and it looks like Puerta could get the chance there. He's played a few games in the Europa League for Leverkusen. I don't know that much about him, to be honest. I just read a few articles about him, and looks like he impressed at youth level and was scouted by Leverkusen. Seems like a midfielder who can both do well defensively and offensively. Number 8, deep lying playmaker kind of player. So he has some attacking potential as well. And I just think that he costs the lowest possible price, and looks like he will start for the league leaders. So deserves a mention. And the same with Paulovic from Bayern, who costs just a bit more, but also looks like Paulovic will be given the chance for Bayern this week. So two quite cheap midfielders available there for the top teams. And my mid-price pick is Václav Černý. Although I think I haven't been that impressed with Wolfsburg recently. They had a quite good schedule from the start of the year, making them one of the teams to target, but haven't really played amazing football, struggling to create chances, and they seem to have a lack of creativity up front, I feel. Nevertheless, I think Václav Černý has been a bright spot for them. Obviously scored in both of their games this year, and they have a very good game against Köln, as I said earlier, at home. So potentially a good differential there. And then finally, Jonas Hoffmann. His ownership is down to 27% at the moment, which is quite low for a player like Hoffmann. But yeah, I think a lot of players, managers recently have opted for Wirtz as their only Leverkusen asset in midfield. Still, Hoffmann has done quite well in Leverkusen's first 2 matches of the year, getting double digits in each of them. And now Leverkusen have 2 great games against Gladbach and Darmstadt, so I think it makes sense to double up again now and bring him back alongside Wirtz.
Yeah, smashing stuff. So we'll come to some questions now, because there's been a few in the live chat, and there's definitely a few that were asked prior to the show around midfielders. So we'll go through them right now. So first one from Captain Rex. How much do we back Dortmund this match day as Bochum aren't at home? Obviously, incredible home record, and I think they did Dortmund 1-0, I think, last season, didn't they, at home? Something like that. Anyway, so we feel quite comfortable with Dortmund being at home, scoring goals. They're not conceding. Well, certainly in the last 2 games at least. So I know sneaky preview to what Rune might suggest for their forward point of view. But you feeling confident BVB wise, Rune?
Yeah, fairly, based on how they've looked recently. But of course, it's a derby, and if I remember correctly, Dortmund actually slipped against Bochum towards the end of last season when they were fighting for the title with Bayern. So
yeah,
I mean, derby games are sometimes special, but still, I feel they should have the upper hand there. And I think Martin and Sancho have come in and given them a boost, not just in terms of how they play, but also mentally. They seem like a team that the players seem more comfortable, happy with playing at the moment. But they have a few injury problems, actually. Looks like Meyer will be in goal instead of Kobel, which is obviously a big blow for Dortmund. And also looks like Emre Can will miss out, and Julian Brandt was also absent from training yesterday. So we'll have to wait for an update from Terzic on Brandt. But the other 2 seem pretty certain to be unavailable this week. But as I said, still looks like a game that Dortmund will win.
Absolutely. Lawrence asked as well, is it worth backing 2 Leverkusen midfielders this week? Pretty much what you already said there, Rune, a little while ago. So I think Lawrence, by the sounds of it, Rune fancies it. I know Peter was saying in last night's show that he reckoned it could be an exciting draw, but that still means, points are up for grabs. I think there definitely will be. So I could see myself going double Leverkusen this week. So thank you for that. And Lawrence has also alluded to the fact that Dortmund is still worth doing Dortmund with the doubts of Kobel and Brandt and co. I think even with the fact that it's a derby, there are a few injury doubts. Dortmund will still be, feeling that confidence a great amount. So I expect them to continue that form. One more from Captain Rex in the live chat. Would you sell Stuttgart assets this week? Which way do you think the game will go this match day? From a prediction point of view, Powell, I think it could be another high-scoring draw. Peter thinks there will be Leipzig. Rune, what are you backing just quickly prediction-wise to this one?
Tough one to predict. I think Stuttgart have been quite unlucky recently. I think they actually deserved more from the 2 games they've played this year, but also comes down to they haven't been clinical enough in front of goal, I think. So, but I think it will be a close game, and therefore I think I would probably back other options. I think there are other teams that it makes a lot of sense to back this week, who are big favorites playing at home, the likes of Dortmund, Union Berlin, Wolfsburg, who also have players in that are quite affordable. So I'd rather go with one of the options from the big favorites.
Yeah, I will be stripping out. I think the only Stuttgart player I have left now is Furyk. I might have Mittelstedt as a bench rotation option, though. I think he'll probably come out as well. So yeah, probably a good idea, to be honest. And they haven't scored many goals. They're way below their XG in the last few games. So that's great. And just before we move on to the forwards, let me just double check questions that were asked again prior to the show. So Lawrence Simon has also asked on X, on Twitter, maybe a bit crazy, but are buying assets even worth it this week? With many fixtures and the missing players due to injuries and AFCON, I'm tempted to sell many of mine. So Rune, what are your thoughts on Lawrence's point there?
Yeah, I think they're worth it still. I think they'll still create plenty of chances. But with that said, I think Leroy Sané hasn't looked as good this year as he did in the first half of the season. He seems quite frustrated at the moment, and has not been performing at the levels we were used to before Christmas. So I think he's definitely one to watch. And if you want to do something different, then you could sell him this week and go with one of the other good striking options. For example, Jonas Wind playing at home against FC Köln could be an option. Patrick Schick is a great option too. I'll come to him later. But generally, I'll still back Bayern to win the game, even with the injuries they have. I think their starting 11 still looks quite strong. But if they have to use that bench, then they might get into trouble.
Yeah, we think it's going to be, say, the royal we of me and Peter from last night. We think it'll be a really close game, this one. But alas, yeah. Anyway, so one in for another live question we'll come to. One from FPL Gunnosaurus was around who to place the midfield star on with so many good options. I think Wirtz will be the most or the majority pick. So, Rune, who are you feeling for a star this week?
Yeah, Florian Wirtz would also be the guy I would back. I just really believe Leverkusen will win that game at home against Gladbach pretty comfortably. So I think Wirtz makes a lot of sense. Maybe Hoffman if you want to do something different.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll be going for. One in from official DNL. If budget is not an issue, do you still prefer Czerny over Meyer? Yeah, interesting on that. Obviously, Czerny's had the record of the last few games scoring wise, but yeah, I'd probably still back Czerny. What I presume you would, Rune, because you picked him in your selections.
Yeah, I think Meyer is probably a little too expensive for what he's shown so far. But yeah, if budget isn't an issue, I think Meyer is a very good option too. I don't think Wolfsburg have been getting him to play at his top level yet. He hasn't quite been used to his best, but he's definitely a great player. They paid a lot of money to get him too, and he's on all set pieces for them as well, including penalties, which obviously increases his appeal. So I think Meyer's is a very good shout too. Czerny is the player in form at the moment with confidence. But over the whole season, if I were to pick one of them, I would go with Meyer.
Very good. Let's move on to strikers then to finish off. And obviously, Rune, let's go through your budget pick to start with. Yeah.
And that's Maximilian Bayer from Hoffenheim. I actually think all three of Hoffenheim's attacking options, Bayer, Weghorst, and Kramaric are players that are worth considering this week. But yeah, now that I had to pick a budget pick, I think Bayer is a very good shout. Quite cheap, and as we can see, he got 14 points last week. He scored and provided an assist against Freiburg. So should come into the game with plenty of confidence. But I also think Weghorst and Kramaric are worth considering, and Weghorst is on sale, so if you have a little more to spend, that could also be an option. And my first pick is Patrick Schick, who I know he hasn't scored in his first 2 games of the year, but I think it's only a matter of time before he finds the back of the net again. With his quality as a striker, he will get a lot of chances, and I think I haven't been far from impressed with Gladbach's defense this season. I think they've been very leaky and have had a lot of problems at the back. And I was actually in the stadium for the reverse fixture between Gladbach and Leverkusen just completely dominated that game, and they ended up winning 3-0, but could have won the game by 5 or 6. And I think they should have the upper hand this time too. And Schick will be the guy who they will try to create chances for. And then finally, my premium pick is Jadon Sancho. Because he's on sale, I think he's worth considering. He may not be back to his best yet and looks a bit rusty, but at the same time, I think he's already shown that he can make a difference for Dortmund, and that he really enjoys being back, and has given them a boost with his presence alone. And they have a very good home game against Bochum, where they are considered big favorites. So I think the fact that he's on sale increases his appeal. Could also go with Daniel Malen. If you're looking at attacking options from Dortmund, he's been in even better form. An interesting option this week because he's on sale.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, been a lot of fanfare around the return of Jadon Sancho. He's obviously been used quite a lot already, and has been effective in certain areas. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on, presumably from the start. What about Daniel Malen, says Captain Rex? Obviously the player that's done well in the last week particularly. It sounds like a winter transfer is not going to happen now for the player, maybe more of a summer thing. So I presume Terzic is going to be using Malen aplenty still.
Yeah, as I also mentioned before, Malen is actually in even better form than Sancho. Great form at the moment, so he would be a cheeky pick, and maybe a player if you want to sell Sané, for example, and do something else. Then you could get Malen in instead, because he's also quite expensive. So that's also a thing to consider.
Yeah. Peter Weiss saying, and Maatsen as well.
Yeah, Maatsen is great too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Good shout, Peter. So I think I'll probably be keeping Maatsen in my team. If I remember correctly, I threw him in last week, so I'll be sticking with him in my defence. So finally, we'll just leave a bit of time for questions whilst I'm going through the rest of Jay's questions from he asked prior to the show. So first one, honest thoughts about on Sancho for this match day. So I think we've covered that for you, Jay, hopefully. Obviously being on sale and with a good fixture, so there's a good chance that he will be worth a pick. With so many, so another question, with so many good fixtures to target, what is the optimum formation to target this match day? 4-4-2 to leave a replacement in each position. Rune, are you going to be shuffling around your formation at all, or looking at I'm still on 3-4-3. I rarely veer away from that. But what about yourself, Rune?
No, I'm not going to change my formation. I think a lot of good options up front this week. Schick and Kane for me are pretty much certain, and then a lot of good options, and then it's about keeping Sané or choosing Jonas Wind or Daniel Malen. I think it wouldn't make sense for me to go down on a striker there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sticking with that 3 in the front line. Then final one from Jay was Sané's form away from home has been nothing like his form at home. Does dropping him for someone like Schick make sense? I think it makes complete sense, to be honest, Jay. So, locking in, if you're going with three strikers, locking in Kane and maybe Paddy Schick leaves you room for one other. If you want to keep Sane and hope his away form isn't too bad, go for it. Is he going to be highly motivated by getting a little bit of a slap midweek? Who knows? So, yeah, no, it'll be tricky one. Rune, I mean, are you going to be thinking about players' home and away form as well, particularly in that greater detail? It's a very good point raised by Jay.
Yeah, I mean, generally it's something I think of, but with Bayern, I just expect them to dominate pretty much every game. So I don't think it's as important with Bayern because most games teams will sit deep against them, no matter if they're playing at home or away, or no matter who they're playing against. So usually it's the same type of game we see with Bayern trying to open up a deep defense and the other team trying to hit them on the counter. And I think that will be the case this week too. So I think it rests on whether you think Bayern can open up that Augsburg defense, and if Sané can rediscover the form that he showed in the first half of the season.
Yeah, very good. So I don't think we've missed any other questions, any that were asked prior to the show or even during the show. So thank you to everyone, as per usual, for getting involved, asking great questions, helping to carry on building this fantastic fantasy community that we have on the go. As we mentioned prior to the show, if you're part of our league, the Bulinews and Over the Bar one, you're part of a seriously competitive one. So everyone's doing really well in that sense. Even if you're part of different leagues, that's not an issue at all. So yeah, we'll finish up then. So as per usual, if again you can smash the thumbs up on the video. Again, we'll always say this, but if you want to leave a comment, if you're not watching the show live, we'll try and intercept them prior to the Friday night kickoff, of course. So that will be something to look forward to, but we'll try and jump on those where possible. And please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out, spreading our name out into the stratosphere. So make sure you share with all your fantasy football friends. So that leaves us to say thank you and have a lovely weekend, one and all. Thank you, Rune, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.